And we are back with another episode of From the Rafters. Sam and I are here on Saturday, May 7th, a few hours after the Celtics and the Bucks finished up game 3. Obviously, the Bucks getting the better of the Celtics 103 to 101. I said that score correct, right? I'm
Yes, you
second
did.
guessing myself.
You did.
But yeah, I mean, just a very tough one to lose. Obviously, if you watch the game, you know, and if you didn't, I would say I would recommend watching it. But actually, before we even start, let me take off the green glasses for half a second. That was a great game. It was just like everything you want out of a
No, it
playoff
was a
game.
great game.
Very physical, very tough. Like obviously the refs were, I would say, inconsistent on both sides. It caught up to the Celtics a little bit at the end. Um, it was a great game though. It's everything you want out of a playoff game. Shout out both teams. Green glasses back on. Brutal. Just
Oh
so
yeah,
so brutal.
kicking the balls.
Very much so. Yeah.
I mean, we'll talk. I mean, you touched on it. The officials. A lot of people on Twitter are not happy. Besides a couple plays, I mean, I really don't care.
I can think of three that
I don't like the
notably
the
piss me
the
off.
biggest one to me is the Marcus. He should have got 3 shots.
Yeah.
You can disagree if you want. If you're listening, I just think I understand the counter is, oh, they said it's the rip through. Yeah, but there's like no time left, and they're down
That
3.
wasn't a rip through
He's
though. He
shooting that.
very
He's
clearly
not.
shooting that.
He was not taking or making that motion in order to draw a foul. He was doing it to
That
shoot.
Why would he draw a foul in that situation?
Yeah,
Doesn't make any sense.
nobody's trying to do that. So
No.
that is the biggest issue I have uh over any other of these calls that I or Jack bring up. The second one is the goaltend
Yep.
that Milwaukee literally tweeted from their account. The picture of the day was
Yep.
Giannis goaltending that they did not call.
Yeah.
But those
And I
those two are
saw
really it for me, man. Everything else
yeah.
is just whatever.
The only other one that actually 2 others that frustrated me, and obviously there's a step below the 2 you mentioned. I agree, those are the 2 big ones. The Drew Holiday, that was a push off on like I think he
Uh,
pushed off at Tatum.
they missed
And
one on
I will
Tatum
say
2
yes,
times up before.
they weren't calling it on Tatum earlier, so I understand, but like it just because putting out a fire with more fire doesn't like put out it just creates more fire. It's just bad officiating the whole game at that point. Like it is what it is. And secondly, that Grant blocking foul
I know
on
what play you're talking
Giannis
about.
was also
I don't
ridiculous.
know if
That
you
doesn't make any
froze or
sense
not.
too. Yeah, no, I'm here. It just doesn't make
You're
any
good.
sense.
You're good.
No,
Sorry.
yeah, it's just after the game, I don't know if you saw the quote, Ime Udoka saying, "Yeah, the refs told me they're not calling a charge
Yeah.
unless the player
Tough.
falls." And then Grant falls and they call it a block. Like
Yes.
there's just no consistency on the refing. You know, I'll say like the Bucks didn't get any consistency either. Like we said, they missed a couple calls. Tatum was using the arm all game, and they missed it on Tatum.
Mm.
Down low, there were a couple of calls where, admittedly, Giannis probably should have gotten the call. Now, at the same time, Giannis also got plenty where he shouldn't have been fouled and stuff like that, so it evened out. But the whistle that night was just horrifically inconsistent on both ends. And like I said at the top of the show, it kind of caught up to the Celtics late in the game, which was brutal. I mean, Udoka mentioned the Marcus Smart 3. Smart talked about it. I mean, Evan Fournier tweeted about it. Nick Batum
A
tweeted
lot of
about it.
people
Taco
tweeting
Fall
about
tweeted
it.
about it. It's just, how is that not a shooting foul, man? I understand the
That's the
Budenholzer
game.
said, yeah,
You can't
Budenholzer
make
said
a
after the game.
hardo call on a play like that. Like that's what it was. It was a hardo call. It's like, hey, look at me. I'm making this call. It's just
Yeah.
it's not the place for it.
No.
That was clearly a sequence where he was going to shoot the ball. He was not making any kind of motion to bait a foul. He was strictly trying to get an open look to tie the game. That's what it was, and they fouled him.
Yeah.
And
And
they got rewarded.
shout out Marcus, Rob, and Al on the glass on that final play. That was a good like
Oh,
second
yeah.
free throw to try to bait it in. Rob almost had it. Al had it. He was like a second off. It was a tough ending, and I mean, I'll put it this way. I'll even say it at the top of the show. Shout out Giannis. I mean, he played phenomenal. That's everything you want from him in a game like that. Yes, he's being very physical. Yes, you can make an easy argument that some of the calls he's getting are a little bit different. And I said this in the Celtics blog chat. Giannis just has a different whistle. Period. And I'm not saying that means it's an advantageous whistle. I'm not saying it's a whistle that hurts him. He just has a different whistle than the rest of the league right now. It's like prime LeBron. Prime LeBron had a different whistle. That's just how it was. That's how the game was. Right now, Giannis has a different whistle. And again, this isn't me complaining. This is just me stating a fact that Giannis gets calls as the motorcycle drives by. Giannis just gets calls differently than the rest of the league. And the Celtics have accounted for that so far. In this game, it caught up to them a little. And Giannis played the best game of maybe the playoffs, easily the series. So shout out to him for playing great basketball. Celtics probably the
I
best
don't
basketball.
have a problem with the way the officiating has really been for Giannis. The play you brought up with Grant, yeah, that's fine. That's a legitimate gripe. But really, besides that, it's like you said, he plays physical. Ime Udoka even said in the first round when they were talking about playing physical against the Nets, they can't call every single foul. They can't call everyone. So does that mean he gets a different whistle? Yeah, absolutely, it could. But Giannis plays the game in a correct way. I feel like he's not doing things to deliberately draw a foul. He's not, falling down every time he takes a shot. He's not flailing his arms. He's not flopping. He doesn't even really complain at the officials. Now, he did come out in the post game presser and, say that he was going to rip the officials, but he didn't want to lose money, which was funny to me. But
Yeah.
I don't think he's playing in like a toxic way,
No.
like a Harden, like where he's going out there deliberately, or an Embiid trying to draw fouls. He's just kind of playing, and his
Yeah.
play style is aggressive. Like I don't know, I don't have a problem with any of that. The only thing I have a real issue with is the Marcus. That should have been shots. I don't really know what else to say. He's
Those shots.
he's jumping. He's not. It's just it doesn't make sense in that situation.
Yeah, I agree. But at the same time, I think I tweeted this in the community I'm in on Twitter. I'm sick of the negativity, like from both sides. Bucks fans
I
are being
agree.
extremely toxic this series. Celtics fans are being extremely toxic this series. It wasn't something I was expecting. If anything, I was expecting this from the Nets series, and it's happening now, which is kind of surprising to me. Like all I see on Twitter is, and this is from both sides. This isn't just me targeting Bucks fans. Like this is Celtics fans too, and I hate it. Is videos of Grayson Allen or Grant Williams or Al Horford or Bobby Portis playing physical, a player falling, and people saying suspend this guy. How is this allowed? Al Horford's elbow checking Grant Williams. Grant Williams is hurting Giannis. Grayson Allen is doing this. It's a physical series. Like the refs are inconsistent, but they're inconsistent for both sides. And I keep saying it just caught up to the Celtics. Like this one seems like it was just, called poorly for the Celtics because of the way the game ended. And I saw this tweet too. Celtics lost the game for themselves when they stopped playing basketball in the third quarter. They just like had no offense or defense. The Bucks stomped them in the third quarter, and that was the end of the game. And they made a valiant effort to come back. But if Jayson Tatum is shooting 4 for 19 from the field, you're not going to win very many basketball games. I'm just like, the negativity makes no sense to me. This is like, that was a good basketball game. I don't know about you. Like, obviously, it sucks the ending, but I was amped up. I was anxious. I was excited, and I was having a good time watching it. Right? Like, it was an enjoyable basketball game, and that's what you ask for in the playoffs. And it's just really disappointing to see all these people come out saying, "Oh, Grant Williams is a dirty player. Bobby Portis is a dirty player. Giannis is a dirty player." People. I saw. I think Colin Cowherd, and I take everything he said with a grain of salt because it is what it is. He's like, Giannis should be suspended. I've seen that multiple times, and it's just like, what is like? Stop. That's the
Suspended for
reason.
what? He's
That's the
just
reason why the game
playing.
is ruined.
Giannis is not the problem if you want to point to anything. Like, I haven't seen any malicious play on either side. I just
The
don't think that's part of this series.
the only
It's
ones
not. They're
that
just playing
were
hard.
The only ones that were borderline to me were, I saw a lot of people get mad at the Wes Matthews one, but the good point was that's the
He's just
exact
diving
play.
after the ball.
That's what Marcus did to Steph, and we all defended Steph.
That
So
was
that like
fine.
no,
It
null and
was
void.
just it was scary because it was so quick, but he didn't do
Yes,
anything wrong.
I didn't love, and this is just because his reputation. I'll admit that wholeheartedly. When
I think
Grayson
I know
Allen
what's
just
coming.
shoved Jason Tatum on the play in the
Yeah, I didn't
backcourt,
like that.
that was just, and it wasn't
Tatum
anything
sold it
egregious.
though.
Yes,
I
like
just
it
kind of
wasn't egregious,
surprised they
but
didn't call that. It was just weird.
yeah. I think it should have been a foul. I don't think it should have been like a flagrant or like it was a dirty play, but I think he definitely gave him a little nudge. But at the same time, they weren't calling Tatum when he was nudging with the left arm either. So
Yeah,
it is what it is.
nobody out there to me is playing dirty. And
No.
this is a environment where they could be if they wanted to and kind of get away with it because of how physical it's been. And
Yep.
nobody's out there trying to take advantage of it, which is good on both sides. Like,
They clearly respect each other.
yeah, it's been
100%.
an excellent series so far. Today was an excellent game. It was unfortunate the
Mhm.
way it ended. And we can move on into that instead of what we think should have been called differently. You got one
I
more
had I
thing?
had one last thing, and it's
Okay.
on the tip of my tongue now, I just forgot. Um, oh, what was it? I'll remember eventually. I can't remember now though. The Bucks coaching staff when Grant wrapped up Giannis, ridiculous. That was ridiculous.
I mean, he
I
tried to
mean,
hold him up.
yes, and Giannis pulled Grant down.
Yeah,
Like, very clearly, Grant was going like this, and then Giannis grabbed his arm and brought him
having his
down.
hands up.
That made
Yeah.
no sense to me, yeah, and it was a pretty quick review too, I understand it. Oh, that was the other thing. I saw a lot of people complaining about the Giannis chase down block attempt on Tatum. That wasn't a flagrant.
No, it
And
wasn't a
and
flagrant.
I also saw Bucks fans complaining, saying, "This is everything wrong with basketball. Why are they reviewing it?" In case he got hit in the head. Period. There it is. They reviewed it in case he got smacked in the head.
Uh,
He
I
didn't,
mean,
so it's not a flagrant. And
even if
even if
he
he
got hit in the
did,
head, I don't think it's a
it's still
flagrant.
bad.
I mean, he should honestly like. I mean, it's a foul. He hit him, but
Yep.
he shouldn't be penalized for hustling. Like, good on Giannis.
No,
Like, he
I
got
agree
back
with
in the
you.
play and tried to make an effort. You don't
I agree.
see most people in the league do that. Like, good for him.
Mhm.
Giannis is
I
probably the
agree.
most likable like star player in the league. I don't
I love
have
Giannis.
any problem with him. I like him. He won a title the right way. I don't
Yep.
even feel like severe angst in this series like I did against the Nets because I don't like Kyrie
Mhm.
so much that I would hate losing to him. Like
Yes.
losing to Giannis is like whatever. I mean, you obviously want to win, but it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
like a hit on your pride. I guess you don't feel
No,
like you're
no.
losing. He's a good dude and he plays the right way and he's not
Mhm.
he's not ruining the game. He's just
Yeah.
physical. Like
And yeah,
that's what it is. He's
if you
physical.
wanna say they review too many flagrants, sure. Like, I'd probably tend to agree with you. I'm not gonna, like, sit here and complain, though. There's just a lot of complaining on both sides, and I've done my fair share on Twitter about the refs because I was frustrated, but to complain to the point of saying, "Oh, this team is dirty and needs to be suspended," like, just stop. Like, I've seen a lot of, like, Grant Williams, Al Horfords, like, need to be suspended for the way they're guarding Giannis, which is, like, crazy to me that that's a take. And I've seen it on the Celtics side too, saying like, "Oh, Giannis should be locked up or in jail," or like, stop. Like, just it's basketball. He plays physical. Celtics are playing in physical. Period. That's the series. But yeah, we
It's
can move
not
on.
one-sided, and I'm
No,
never one to complain about the officials really ever,
that three though.
and
That was a three.
the 3 was just that you can't really justify it, like,
Yeah,
you can say,
that's
"Oh,
bad.
like, his feet were still on the ground," or whatever,
Doesn't
like,
matter.
the counter is, he was gonna shoot that ball. He
Yes.
was gonna shoot it. That's the story, he was gonna shoot it, they said no, and they still almost won, or not won, but they almost tied the game anyways.
Mhm,
So, I mean, I guess they got a fair shake at it. It's just brutal.
mhm.
It's not the
Oh,
time to make a prove your point call.
the other one that was frustrating, but also probably not a flagrant when Rob got just completely elbowed in the
Yeah, I
face.
mean that, but like
That was
whatever.
annoying.
That
No, it was a
was like
basketball play.
inadvertent. It's whatever.
Exactly,
And I don't even know if
exactly.
Rob was in the play.
He was. They were going for a rebound.
Okay.
It is
Well,
what it is, though.
anyways, you can't harp on
Um,
the refs too much because the Celtics lost the game regardless. They lost
mhm,
the game. They played horrible in the third quarter.
yep,
And had they played even like half as bad, they would have comfortably won. They played an excellent fourth quarter, which is encouraging. And,
yep.
Tatum was not good. So, whichever one you
No.
would like to get into first, we can start with.
We can start with Tatum because I feel
Okay.
like that's the thing most people are waiting to hear about. He was bad. He was really, really bad. This might have been his worst game since January. Like, we're
Mm,
talking a long, long time. I mean, he struggled in game 1, but not to this level because he brought it around in the second half. This time there was just there was just no coming back. Um, when they drew up that final play, when they inbounded it, I turned to my dad, and Zoe, and I was like, I swear to God, if this ends up in Tatum's hand for a three, like please, like at points, obviously this is an exaggeration because he brings so much on the defensive end, but at points it looked like he was unplayable because he was just shooting them out of the game. He would go
yeah.
up, he'd take a silly shot, and then the Bucks would just get an easy buckets. It's exactly what happened in game 1. Jalen played fine. The rest of the Celtics played fine. I mean, I have a couple more things I want to get into after this, but Jason Tatum was just he was bad, and if he makes 2 more shots, that's a completely different game, and that's crazy to think, and that's not a way to think about games, but it's kinda the truth.
Yeah. He wasn't good to start. It seemed like every shot he took was difficult. And the ones that he made were the easier shots. He got to the rim a couple times, made some good cuts. to make some extra shots. I think he made 2 in the 4th or something like that.
I think he
He
had
was a
4 made shots in the game, though. It was just
yeah,
bad.
no, that's what I mean. It's not good, but the shots he did make were, like, at the rim,
At the rim, yes.
which is good because he wasn't doing that in November. He was not making those shots.
Yeah.
Um, but going, into the rest, everything he took was real difficult, man. He was fading away with Matthews on him in the post. He looks kind of afraid to go up around Giannis or Brook Lopez in the paint. He doesn't look like he has any interest in going in there. That's not a good thing. I don't
Mhm.
even know if he shot it more than 2, 3 free throws today, maybe. I
I'll look it
mean,
up while you keep talking.
he had the end one dunk, and then maybe he got fouled one more time, but he really did not make much of an effort to get in the paint today, and it definitely hurt the team.
3 free throws.
3
You're
free
right.
throws, yes. Look at that.
Jalen shot
Photographic
11.
memory.
That should tell you.
Well, yeah, because they played a different game. But Tatum really didn't do anything to get himself into the paint or get going. He just kind of took tough shots. He took tough fadeaways out of the post. He took a couple like threes where it wasn't catch and shoot, but he never put the ball down and just tried to jab and then shoot over guys. One of them was Giannis, which was mind
Yeah.
blowing because he was really struggling at the time. I didn't get
Not a
that,
good look. Not a good look.
but his shot selection today, I guess, is the bottom line, was not very good. And he didn't do much on the glass. He had 1 rebound, 3 assists to go along with how many
Mhm.
points? 12,
10.
10,
10.
10. Well, he hit double
He had 4
digits.
blocks, so he was doing, he was helping on that end, but
2 on the same possession. I
yeah.
think 1 was a foul.
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
least 1.
3 turnovers though too, which is obviously
Mm.
not great. It was about as bad as you could think Tatum is capable of playing, which is not great because game 1 was as bad as you could think Jaylen Brown could possibly play. So you got 2 games in the series. One of them that ended up being a blowout, but the other one being very close that one of your superstars just completely flopped in, which is not a way to win the series. And on top of that, Giannis goes for 40. The one thing I can say, and I think Tatum said this a few weeks ago, there's no moral victories in the playoffs. But if you could find it in your heart to find a moral victory, the fact that the Celtics only lost by 2, with Giannis putting up, what was it, 42 points on 53% shooting, and Tatum scoring 10 points on 21% shooting, and the Celtics losing by 2, that's about as close to a moral victory as you can possibly get. So going into game, what is it, 4? You have to think the Celtics are feeling pretty confident. They know what they have to improve upon. I can't imagine Tatum has another game as bad as that one, just like you couldn't imagine Brown would have another bad game and he'd bounce back. So I'm hoping that's what we're going to see in the next one. I would say Giannis probably won't go for 40 again, but he might he might go for 40 again. So yeah, that's that's really all there's to say. I think the main thing, and he said this after the game in his post game interview, he was just overthinking things. Like he'd get into the paint and he'd try to find a pass instead of just trying to take a floater. And even if some of them are contested, like you're Jayson Tatum, take a floater. Like take some looks in the paint. Try to get to the rim. Don't do what Jaylen Brown did in the first half, where you backed up into a jumper and tried to draw a foul, because that's not basketball.
Mm.
But like get play physical. This is a very physical series, and right now Jayson Tatum seems like he's avoiding contact, which is like the opposite of what he needs to be doing right now.
Yeah, I get the feeling too. And to circle back to what you said about a moral victory, yeah, I mean, I guess you could feel good about this today, right? Like he
Yeah.
took a pretty good punch from Milwaukee, only lost by 2. However, it would feel a lot more a lot better if they won, because then you'd be really able to say, "Hey, look, like Celtics won this game. Giannis
Yeah.
had 42 points.
Well,
Tatum played
obviously winning would
horrible."
be better. Yes.
And it's really sick to think about. You're probably Marcus Smart rattled 3. I mean, it rattled in and out. It was halfway down from winning. You would have been up 4.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
that last
brutal to
they got
think
2
about.
good looks in that possession down there.
Yeah, and poor Grant just slapped the ball out of bounds.
Oh, he
There was
almost
no
had it though, didn't he?
no.
He was
He had it. He didn't almost have it. He just had like the wrong instinct. He just slapped it instead of grabbing it.
Oh, I thought he was just too far away from it. He was trying
No,
to corral it.
he
Okay.
like had like a full on like rear his arm back and
Yeah.
came down and swatted it out of bounds. It was so strange,
We can
but
talk about him too whenever you're
he
done,
was all
because I
right.
feel like
He didn't make a lot of threes today, but he was all right. He
my
was
point with
fine.
Grant is at the point where everything he does is either really good or really bad, and there's not really an in between. Like, all he does is either hit threes when you need him to or miss the threes. Really good, really bad. He either slaps the ball out of bound or grabs an offensive rebound. Really good, really bad. He either blocks Giannis on the pick and roll after helping on Drew Holiday, which was, by the way, an insane play.
That
Like,
was a crazy
I don't
play,
think people understand how difficult that was because of how easy Grant made it look.
and he didn't
I
foul him.
exactly. I dove into that play. I did film study for Celtics blog. They love sending Giannis at the pick and roll with Drew Holiday, and they did it a lot today because it worked in the past. Because the Celtics drop down to cover for Giannis, and the defender gets caught on Holiday's back, but and you usually just ends up in a Holiday mid range, a Holiday floater, or obviously a Giannis dunk. But
Mm.
the fact that Grant not only stopped Holiday from getting an open look, but also came around and blocked Giannis's layup attempt. Like, that was a ridiculously athletic play from someone who is not usually regarded as athletic. So shout out for Grant. But the flip side to that is Grant making a bonehead foul or just doing something that's not warranted on that. Like, just there's very ups and downs, and obviously Banter, our good friend of the pod, will always point it out, and I
Timmy
always see it on
G.
Twitter. But it's like it's always good or bad, and there's not really an in between. But yeah, like you said, it was just
I
I think
kind
it
of
was a
thought it
nice
was an
game.
in between game for Grant.
I agree.
Ironically, with
I
you
agree.
saying that, like he made a couple threes, maybe one or two. I don't remember if he made more than one. I know he did make one at the end of the half.
One.
He
1
he
for
had a
6.
nice,
That game.
yeah, well, not a good 3-point shooting game, but he made some decent plays. Like there was one he drove on the closeout and dunked.
3
Like
blocks too.
3 blocks. He played okay defense. Like he was fine. It was pretty impressive to me that he didn't foul out of the game after picking up his fifth with 6 to play. I mean, they
That
switched him off
closeout
Giannis.
the closeout block on Holiday was clutch. That was a clutch block on the 3 when he got out there and
Yep.
blocked that in the 4th quarter. Like, that was huge. He made some good plays, like you said. It was just I don't know. Yeah.
If you want to talk about big plays, look no further than Al Horford, who was
Yeah.
fantastic
I was
today.
gonna bring him up too.
He and Jaylen Brown, who we can discuss in a moment, willed
Mhm.
them back into the game. Derek White wasn't too bad today either. Deserves a
Yeah.
nice nod. He had a nice bounce back game, if you want to call it that. But back to Al Horford. What do you have? Like 22 and 15, 16 rebounds, something like that. Like a crazy type game from Al.
22 points, 16 rebounds, 5 assists, 9 of 17 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3. Just
Yeah, he was
beautiful.
excellent and he was clutch. He made huge shots in that fourth
Mhm.
quarter. He was a big part of them getting back into that game. I believe Holiday came down and made a three, or Connaughton made one to put Milwaukee back up 10. Or
Connaughton made a ridiculous one in the corner. Do you remember
yeah,
that?
it
That
was
was
tough.
that was a good shot. That was crazy.
He's a real pain in the ass. But
He is.
Horford
He
like
is.
matched a couple of those big swing like threes that they made on the other end to keep that run going, which was really important. And it's not something you
Mhm.
see from the Celtics very often. You certainly didn't see it in game one. It's something they needed, and they could have got back into that game if they had it. But today he was able to provide those kind of big makes, and it helped them get into the game. Made a big mid range, made a nice hook shot with little time to play. Like he was everything you could ask for today, which is tough. You wasted that, but it was really nice to see him do that. And you're seeing him do that while guarding Giannis. So my little theory, talking about it before the series, maybe Horford's going to have a drop off in his offense because he has to spend so
Nope.
much energy on defense. We didn't see that today, at least. And I'm happy for that. I just really like Al. I'm happy he's back on the team, and I'm happy he's playing at a high level. Good for him, man.
Al Horford might be the best player on the Celtics in the series so far.
Maybe.
Actually, that wouldn't surprise me. He's
Yeah.
averaging let me I wanna see what he's averaging in this series because in the playoffs, he's averaging 12 points, but that just doesn't that doesn't sound right for what he's done. Let's see. Okay, go here, versus Bucks. Excuse me. Through 3 games, Al Horford is averaging 15 points, 12.3 rebounds, almost 4 assists, 1.7 steals, 1.7 blocks, shooting 46% from the field and 43% from 3 on 7 3-point attempts a game. Like, he's 35. You know
Yeah.
that LeBron James meme where it's like, "He's 36." Like,
Yeah.
the nice guy. I know you don't like LeBron, but that apply he's 35, and
Yeah.
he's your, like, most consistent player in the playoffs at the very least. Like he's everything you ever could have wanted when they traded him back. And I tweeted at Bobby today, and I know you were you're
Right?
upset that I
Yeah,
didn't
I
give you
did
the
not
credit.
like that. A direct slight to me.
No, no, no. But even like I know you thought he'd be a big piece when he came back, and I agreed. You were
I
probably
was begging for him to
more
be
hype.
back way before it happened. I said
I don't
this would
think.
be a no-brainer.
Yes, I don't think anybody could have predicted he would be this good.
No, I
Like
don't
this
think.
is next level.
Yeah, you really can't stress the importance of his 3-point percentage this series, 43% on 7
7
a
a game
game.
too. Yeah,
The
wild.
reason he's taking so many is because Milwaukee insists on packing the paint, and if he's making them at such a high percentage, it's making him pay for that. So
Yeah,
he's going to be big for the team's success going forward. You need him to keep it up, and obviously he's been working his ass off defensively, having to try and cover Giannis. I mean, Horford is
mhm,
very valuable, and he may be the MVP. You're right.
yeah. It's great. Him and Grant, like that defense on Gian this might be Giannis's toughest task of the playoffs. Like, say the Bucks move on, I think this might be the hardest series he plays. Even like, knock on wood here, and this is just me making a point. I'm gonna actually knock on wood, so my sound's gonna sound weird. Even if the Bucks win in 5 and Giannis, like, everyone, like, looks at this as, "Oh, they just got past the Celtics," whatever. This is probably the most taxing series Giannis is going to play in the playoffs, no matter how long it goes. Like, through 3 games, like, even after the first 2 games, you could see how exhausted he was, and I know he played amazing today and he made it look easy, but they were beating him up. Every drive, like, I don't know how many free throws did he shoot? He shot 12 free throws. He
12.
shot 9 of 12, which is actually pretty impressive for Giannis. So shout out, I guess. But he's getting beat up. Nothing's easy for Giannis this series. So shout out to Al and Grant for that. Rob is getting played off the court though, which is something we can talk about briefly. Rob is he's not as valuable as Grant and Al in this series, and it's simply because Giannis attacks him on every possession. Like he just attacks him, he attacks him, he attacks him, he gets played off the court. Like Rob only played 23 minutes today. That's less than Marcus, that's less than Grant, and that's only less than 3 minutes more than Derek White played. Like I love Rob. This isn't me like slandering him. He's just not built for this series. The Bucks have too much strength. And it's forcing Udoka to go in a different direction, which is it is what it is. Like I'm not complaining. I'm just it's interesting to see how that's played out.
He'll be all right. And there are still things he brings to the table. He still was
Of
pretty
course,
decent
yeah.
on the offensive glass today. I think he did a pretty good job of tipping the ball out a couple of times. Had a putback or
He had
two.
four offensive rebounds. Yeah.
Yeah, so good for Rob. The problem is
Mhm.
defensively, which is typically not the problem. I don't think he um, is great right now with Giannis picking the right times to double. Early
Yeah.
in the game, he doubled on a play where he probably shouldn't have, and Brook Lopez got a layup.
That's been
It,
killing him. Yeah.
he'll be all right. I think he is playable in this series. I think Grant is the better play, especially down the stretch. I also think Horford is no brainer. And also, him not being able to shoot threes is another reason why he's probably not seeing as many minutes because of how Milwaukee wants to pack the paint. Playing Grant and playing Al is going to benefit the Celtics offensively as well as defensively more than having Rob in there, unfortunately. Now, Rob has made both his jump shots in the series, though, so good for him.
Yeah.
He made one
Yes.
today, made one the other day. He
Mhm.
looks fine. He looks a little bit more like the guy that was playing before he got injured, which is also another good thing. But yeah, he's just not strong enough to stay with Giannis, I don't think. That's not his strength as a player. His strength is his athleticism, not his body strength
Yeah.
like Grant.
Like net series perfect for Rob, unfortunately, because he missed half of it. But this one is just physical, and he's not really built enough for that yet. And maybe he never is, and that's fine. But interesting. Another change that I saw that I assume you noticed as well. They started actively switching when Giannis had the ball. Like they wouldn't just try to get Horford or Grant around the screen. Like Jalen guarded Giannis for a long
Mhm.
period of the game. Derek White switched onto him a bunch. Peyton Pritchard was on him for a possession, which I was
He
terrified.
didn't
They
he did
settled
not want
for
to go at Pritchard.
yeah, I know they settled for a jump
Pritchard
shot,
is
but
2-0 against Giannis in this series. He had him go out of bounds in game 2 and
yeah,
he was afraid to play on him today and whoever he passed to, I believe it was
yeah.
Wesley Matthews did not make the 3.
Yes, Wesley Matthews, by the way, shout out Wesley Matthews. He's playing great defense on Tatum. I forgot to mention that. Like, shout out him. He's putting in good work. But yeah, interesting change. Do you think that was because how well Giannis played in the first half, or do you think that's just something Udoka wanted to test out? Like, what do you think the mentality was there? Because you noticed it too, right? Like they allowed other guys to play Giannis rather
Yeah.
than just keep guys on. Like even Tatum guarded him.
I think by doing that, you're limiting how many open threes you're gonna give because when they were switching, it
Yeah.
felt like there was a lot more threes being created because guys were sticking, like they weren't committed to one way or the other. So they probably made a definitive change to prevent that. They didn't want.
Well, Milwaukee only shot 18 threes in game two, though.
No, it's true, but they played differently
So
today.
yeah, that's my point. Oh, Milwaukee played differently. Okay, yes, yes.
Yeah,
Sorry, I'm following what you're saying now. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. It was just interesting to see the change that they made.
they also started clearing a side for Giannis today, which was something
Yes.
that was not beneficial to the Celtics. It was a good adjustment for Milwaukee.
Mhm.
He made them pay a couple times. Jalen is not
Yeah.
well equipped to guard Giannis. He does okay, but
Mhm.
he's not Grant. He's not Al.
No, those are the
And
only two guys I
Tatum
trust
has
on
struggled
Giannis.
to guard Giannis.
Yeah, I
For
only
someone that
Horford
we
and
heard
Grant
about
can.
how much muscle he put on, he is struggling.
Yeah, it's funny, and this maybe I'm bashing Tatum, but you talk about Tatum's muscle when he's guarding the skinniest player in the NBA, but as soon as he goes up
Yeah.
against Giannis, it's a excuse me, a different story. Milwaukee didn't even shoot the ball well today. Like they shot 40% from the field, 26.5% from three. Like the Celtics played okay defense, and the philosophy of let Giannis do his thing and just stop everybody else. Realistically speaking, that worked, right?
Mm.
Because you were in the game, and if you didn't go through a complete offensive slump in the third quarter and Jayson Tatum didn't play like a middle schooler, as mean as mean as that is, you probably win the game, right? And
Yeah.
obviously
We
hindsight's
got November
2020.
Tatum today.
Yeah. And I'm not discrediting the Bucks, right? Like the Bucks earned the win. They were the better team. Period. That's it. But at the same time, you know that Westbrook quote where it's like, "Did the Utah Jazz win this game or did the Oklahoma City Thunder lose this game?" And he's like, "What? Nah, this dude's tripping." Like that's what it was. It felt like the Celtics lost this game on
Yeah,
the
I
offensive
agree.
end,
They
and
lost.
that's without discrediting again Giannis. I'm not trying to be, Celtics fan. Celtics should have won. Bucks stink anyways. Like, no, the Bucks played a great game of basketball. They deserved to win. They were a better team. But the Celtics have a ton of room for improvement, and so do the Bucks, right? Like, so do the Bucks. I just thought the Celtics defended them pretty well outside of Giannis. Obviously, that needs to be better. Uh, and yeah, the offense just wasn't there. What were the main things that stuck out to you in that third quarter? Was it just the same old lack of ball movement, nothing flowing,
They
stuff like
looked like
that?
they were panicking. There was too many turnovers. Tatum threw it
Yeah,
off somebody's face.
that was
They
bad.
threw the ball out of bounds. Marcus
Forgot about
tried
that.
forcing a pass through the needle that wasn't there. And then there was a lot of ill-advised shots. I mean, you name it, it kind of happened, and they didn't use their heads enough. They weren't patient enough, and
Mhm.
they saw Milwaukee start to get it going, and they didn't play well with the pressure of keeping up. And now they turned it on the fourth quarter. You have to give Al Horford credit for that again. Like he seemed to be a calming force out there, making
Yeah,
big shots and in being a veteran leader. That it was like, all right, guys, like we can mount the comeback, which they did. They took the lead. Good for them. Um, third quarter killed them,
yeah.
and they were not getting a lot of stops, and they were turning the ball over too much. And Milwaukee made them pay.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with the turnovers. The Celtics had 12 turnovers on the game, which isn't too bad, but
No, not
7 of
bad. An
them se
improvement.
7 of them were in the third quarter alone. And I just noticed this in the box score and thinking back, it makes sense. Third quarter was the Tatum quarter. Like, he kinda tried to get in a rhythm in that third. He took 8 of the team's 20 shots, and he made 1 of them. So,
Mm,
if you take away Tatum shots, they shoot, let's see, 2 for 4, 3 for 6, 4 for 9. They shoot 5 for 11, 5 for 12, instead of 6 for 20. So, what's 5 divided by 12? Instead of 30%, they shoot 42%, 41%. Like, that's a big difference in a quarter, like, and I understand the idea of Tatum wanting to get in a rhythm, but I haven't watched his field goal attempts, so I'll look through them now while you give your take, but
lot of 1 foot followays.
yeah, it just seemed like he was taking ill-advised shots, and like I said earlier, he kinda shot the Celtics out of the game. Like, I was watching it with Zoe, and Zoe was like, "Alright, he's gotta come out. He's gotta come out." I'm briefly looking through, his shots right now in the 3rd quarter, and I'll do that while you give your take, but, um, the first one he saw that I just saw, and I remember it vividly, it was like the opening of the 3rd quarter, like their first possession in the 3rd. Tatum gets a wide open mid-range shot off a screen from Rob, just in and out. Like, it dribbles in the rim and just pops out, and from that point on, I was like, "Oh, no, we're gonna be in for a not so fun time."
They need a better way. Not even they, Tatum himself, and then the team's secondary need a better way of getting Tatum involved or making him effective when he's not shooting well. I feel like there's a lot of times throughout the season that we, as fans, podcasters, whatever, were met with games where Tatum didn't shoot well and it felt like he wasn't productive. The thing that happened when they turned the season around is one, he was more productive more often. He didn't have very many bad games. But when he did, it was like he was still doing stuff. Like he had a triple double this year when he had like 10 points.
Yeah,
Today was not one of those days. He had 1 rebound, 3 assists. You just said 4 blocks, which is good on him. But
but
he,
offensively, it was yeah.
and he looked confused towards the end of the game. There was one play where Connaughton wasn't even looking at him and he could have went right to the basket. And it was one of those, I believe they were up, like they could have went up 3 and they didn't get like the best shot, but he had an opportunity to get like an easy layup and he just didn't see it. It was weird. It was uncharacteristic of Tatum.
Mhm. Yeah, it's just I just watched through all of his shots in the 4th quarter. It started with a good pull-up, like, he got open on a pull-up, then he got a decent little floater, in the lane, one that he should probably make, but it just didn't fall, and then after that, like you said, it was a contested pull-up over Wesley Matthews from 3,
Mhm.
which was bad shot. A pull-up jumper over the Giannis one that you said, terrible shot. A fadeaway jumper, which he could probably make if he was in a rhythm, but he's not. Bad
Right.
shot. Another pull-up 3 over the defense. Not a good shot. Like, they're all getting contested, and then he got a couple driving layup attempts, and he made one, and he missed another. After he missed those first 2 looks, he needed to get into the mode of, "Okay, let me set up my teammates," but he just kept trying to get in a rhythm, and exactly like you said, it's November Tatum. Like, that's exactly what he would do, in November, and for most of last year too, like, he would just try to get in a rhythm, and thinking back, like, I know everyone's saying, like, "Oh, Tatum dropped 60 last year, Tatum dropped 50 this year." That's because that's when Tatum's on, he's on. The difference between that Tatum's the same player. The difference between that Tatum and this Tatum this year that we've seen for the second half of the season is that Tatum knows how to adjust when he's off now, and that just didn't happen for whatever reason tonight, and that was the reason he was so bad, because if Tatum had shot 4 for 12, but had, like, 7 assists, we're not talking about it, like,
Yeah.
because he impacted the game, but he was so just focused, so dead set on getting his shot to fall that he abandoned all other, like, common practices that he's, like, adapted to this season. That's not the right word, but you know what I'm saying. It was
Yeah.
just
He
frustrating.
he did not carry himself the right way with a
Yes.
tough shooting night. But Jalen Brown did, so we can
Jaylen
get into
Brown did
that.
great.
Jalen
Yeah.
Brown for the last 2 games has now been excellent. He definitely had enough time to recover from the hamstring problem. He played a complete game today. Unlike game 2, he got tired in the second half or his legs started bothering him. He looked fine today. He was a big part of the second half surge they had, and it
Mhm,
was encouraging to see. He is continuing to be that player we saw in the Nets series that was
mhm.
giving you baskets in the 4th quarter when you needed them. He made a big
Yeah,
and one. He had a 3 rim in and out, which was tough. It was a good look from him.
very tough.
But it was a good shot. Like he took a lot of good shots. He made a big 3. He was getting them points when they needed it, and he was doing it in a way that he was confident. He did force,
Mhm,
unfortunately, when Milwaukee went ahead in the last minute and Celtics were down 1, he did try and go right at Giannis, which didn't make a whole lot of sense. But
mhm.
he still had an okay mindset on that. He didn't take a tough fall away. He went to the basket.
Is it me or did he take there was someone who took an maybe that's what I'm thinking of. I'm for some reason remembering an ill-advised 3 in, like, the final moments of the game, and I don't know if it was
It
Brown,
wasn't
but
in
there
the final
was
moments. It was Smart took one in the 3rd quarter.
Okay.
But it
There
wasn't a
there there
three.
was
He went inside and he tried to shoot over Giannis, and it just hit the bottom of the
I
rim.
remember that. I remember that too. I was thinking of the smart 3, you're right. No, yeah, it just seemed like they reverted back to the get a bucket mindset at the worst moments. Um, that being said, I'm not too, like I'm deflated, but I'm not too disappointed. I'm trying to think of the right words, like
I feel better than I did after game 1.
yes.
However, it's a kick in the balls because
Yes, yes,
had they
yes.
come out on top of this, in this
Out of
game and
on
they
top of the
won
world.
game 3, not only
Yeah.
you're on top of the world, but you're like, "Damn, that might have been a real backbreaker from Milwaukee." They had a great performance from Giannis.
Yeah,
Drew Holiday was a pain in the ass, like, Lopez got his.
yeah,
They were at home and they blew a lead, like, all those things would go into the mix, and then they would say, "And they still lost." But they held
yeah.
on. So it's kind of a kick in the balls for the Celtics. I don't think it's a backbreaker, but
No,
now game 4 obviously is a must win. You don't want to go
you
down
gotta
3
win game
games to
4.
1. If you win game 4, you have home court back. You go back to the Garden for game 5. But
Yep.
game 4 comes first. You need to come out and play better. Tatum needs to play better. There are things that they did well today, especially in that fourth quarter, that they can focus on. But you need to avoid the lapse in the third quarter again. You need to be more careful with the ball. If you see you're on the wrong end of a run, slow down. Don't try and get quick punches back in because it hurts you. It's like earlier this season, there would be a lot of times where they would be on the wrong end of a run and they would shoot a three to try and,
Yep.
nip it in the bud instead of working to get a good shot. What helped them get back in the game in the fourth quarter was working to get good shots. Every single time they got a stop in Milwaukee, they would come down, work to get a good shot, and they made a lot of their shots in the fourth quarter because they were good looks. They weren't
Yes.
really forcing anything, which was fine. Even the 2 threes they missed to potentially go up 4, they were good shots. The Marcus one was halfway down. I can't believe it didn't go in. The
Brutal.
only real force was the Jalen over Giannis. Even then, like, I get it. Like, they were playing with the time, trying to go 2 for 1, whatever, but they probably still could have got a better shot. And they kind of strayed away from what was working on that one possession.
Yeah. It was brutal, man. I'm feeling good heading into game 4 because I think they know what they have to correct, and just like they
Mhm.
knew what they had to do after game 1, Udoka's gotta be in the lab. He's gonna make the adjustments. I can't imagine, I said this earlier, we're gonna get another Tatum stinker again. Um, we just gotta hope it all falls into place, and admittedly, game 2, sorry, was probably about as good as they could possibly play for the most part. They had a dud in the 3rd, I remember correctly, and the second
Mhm.
half was mid, but, like, that first half of that game was exactly what you want to do. I don't know if they can get back to that level because they were so hot, but you don't have to. I think if you play, like, slightly worse, obviously not every shot's gonna fall, but play the same level of defense, that's the key for me. The defense has been there, man. It's
It's been consistent.
just the offense. Yes, just
Another
the offense.
another around 100 points game. Game 1, Milwaukee scores 101.
Mhm.
Game 2, they
89.
83, 89 they end with, and today was 103. So you are keeping them in, I don't know, you can say, like, your goal, like the goal
86,
amount of,
sorry.
yeah,
Yes.
you are keeping them in check, if you will. The
Yeah.
problem has been your offense. You could easily be up 3-1 if you had your head out of your ass, especially today. I mean, game 1 was a winnable game, and it was frustrating to watch because of that. There were so many times that they didn't make the right play in the big situation. Today, they kind of were better with that, especially in the fourth quarter. They did make the big momentum play. The third
Mhm.
quarter, they were on the wrong end of it, and it just held them back. But they can fix that in game 4. We've seen them adjust. Um, it's not going to be easier on the road again, but the Celtics are a good road team. They have been
They
for the
are.
second half of the season.
And this was a good road game. The Milwaukee crowd was into it. They were hyped up, and the Celtics still kept it close. Again, no more moral victories. But if I'm a Celtics fan, I'm feeling pretty good, which I am. So I'm feeling pretty good heading in to game 4. But yeah, is there anything else you wanted to bring up before we get on out of
No,
here? I
I think
think
we
that'll
gave the
be
people a good
it.
45 today. You guys will be enjoying this. Nice post game reactions. I think these have done well.
I have to
Right?
say, I was reminded by your shirt. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see Tim's wearing a Delta shirt. We had a
Yeah.
trivia question last night. I went to trivia with Zoe, and it was, what is the biggest airline in the world? Like what, like by like flights and stuff like that. And
Flights.
it was either American, United, Delta, or JetBlue. And we said Delta because I thought it was that
It
was my
might
guess.
be. It might be United.
It was American.
Really?
Very
I'm
weird. That was our
surprised.
last choice. We were like, it can't be American or JetBlue. Those
It
seem
definitely
too
was not
commercial.
JetBlue. JetBlue's very
Yeah.
small.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
like going to Florida.
Yeah, literally. That's what we use it
Yeah.
for. Outside of that, yeah, no. I was at graduation this morning, and just
Congratulations.
thank you, thank you. We left after I walked on stage because my mom was like, it was in Seaport in a tent, like a big tent. It was like the pavilion
Mhm.
or something. But it was freezing. So my mom texted me. I'm in line. I'm literally in line about to walk up the steps to get my diploma. My mom texted me, "Fuck this. We're leaving after you go across the stage. I'm cold." And so I came down. Zoe and my sister Grace were waiting for me. They take me and we just dip. We just
Yeah,
like
well,
left.
that's what I would do. I mean, what do you wanna stay for? You
There were 1,300 kids.
Oh, I wouldn't have went.
It
I
was
wouldn't have went. Are you kidding?
yeah.
Why would you go?
My mom
Why
wanted to
would you
go.
even
Pictures.
go?
My mom asked, and so I
Oh,
obliged.
I'm not going.
Pictures, stuff
I
like
didn't
that.
go to
It is what
mine.
it is. It was painless. You didn't
Our
go to
news
your
station
undergrad?
covered it. I was working. I didn't go. I did not go.
Your undergrad, you didn't go?
No, I didn't go. It's too many
My
people, man. I'm
undergrad
not gonna sit there.
my undergrad did a drive-through graduation during COVID. So we drove up. I got to walk across the stage by myself, shake the president's hand, and dipped in our car. It was elite. It took 20 minutes. It was
I
amazing.
I don't know. The high school graduation's fine. Those are people you've known for like 12 years of your life.
That's my thing, yeah.
You all go together. College, you don't even really know half the people. I mean,
I was online too. I'd never been to campus, and
well,
so I
that's what I mean. Like, what the hell are you going for? Who
yeah, I don't
cares?
know. It took a couple hours out of my day. My mom was happy. That's what
That's
matters, not
if that's me, I'm saying no thanks.
anyways, that's all we got for today. We
There
appreciate
you
the
go.
listenership. We've been getting a lot of more unique listeners. So if you are new to the show, welcome. We appreciate the listen. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to be changing our Twitter. Most of you guys follow Bannertown USA on Twitter. We're going to be transforming that into the From the Rafters
Yes.
podcast Twitter because we feel like we can grow this a little better there. If you guys have a place to find us, if you search From the Rafters rather than Bannertown, it's a little, I guess, can be a little confusing if you're just listening to the show. So we're going to make that switch. Look out for that on Twitter coming soon. And yeah, thank you as always. I'll leave it up to Sam.
Yeah, thank you guys very much for listening or watching. If you're watching, you're probably on YouTube, which means you're on Guy Boston or Bannertown, which could very well become From the Rafters in the future if we decide to go that route.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
if you are, make sure you subscribe. If you subscribe to Guy Boston, you'll see us on the pregame, which did not happen today. Uh, we usually do them 30 minutes before every
Yeah,
game, but we did not have the personnel to do it
very
today.
tough.
I was not doing a 30-minute show by myself, and everyone had
Hey, man,
prior
I had a pretty
commitments,
good
which
excuse.
which were good excuses. It's not what I'm saying, but it's always a lot of fun. We usually have a good chat, good people in the comments, consistent crew. We always appreciate them, and also make sure you like the videos. Definitely helps more people see it. I think that's how it works. But there's a like button for a reason, so use it. Don't use the dislike one. Though. Don't do that. Just leave mean comments.
I think they took oh, you can't see dislikes. You can use
That's
the
a
dislike button,
problem.
but nobody will see
No,
them.
you should see the dislikes.
I agree.
Just
We
don't
can
don't
see
do
them.
it. Don't
We
do
can
it to
see the
us. Just
dislikes.
leave nice or mean comments. And
Just be
say we
nice.
look funny.
Just be nice.
But you can listen to us on those streaming services, Spotify, Apple, Anchor, which I believe we have a read for in there somewhere.
We do. Shout out Anchor. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
But make sure you hit the follow button there, just in case Jack does not tweet the pods or From the Rafters does not tweet them. You can follow us. You can follow Jack if he does tweet them at Jackson1NBA. You also get plenty of his articles, and you can follow me at Sam LaFrance NBA. You can get my retweets to the pod and me complaining. That's our show.
Taco, come on. Taco.